You have a great, big, beautiful imagination. Now, if only said great, big, beautiful imagination, or any great imagination, or any big imagination, or any beautiful imagination, or any imagination of any variety was on display during Cobweb. Directed by Samuel Bowden, who's done television and shorts. Check out his IMDb page for the full listing of his work. And written by Chris Thomas Devlin, whose only other writing credit so far includes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie released on Netflix last year. Well, fuck. Not exactly a goddamn ringing endorsement so far, because I hated the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 Netflix movie. Had a couple neat little ideas, and really was complete dog shit. I mean, from every aspect. It had nothing just to do. There was not one central aspect, one central thing that led to the massive downfall of that fucking shitfest. But let's get back to Cobweb. Lizzie Kaplan, who was in Cloverfield, and she's been in other good stuff. She's pretty good. You have Anthony Starr, who is in The Boys as Homelander. Okay, I haven't seen that much of that show, but he's pretty good. He's been good in other stuff, so we're 2 for 2. Cleopatra, coming at ya, Cleopatra Coleman, who is in Infinity Pool. She was also in A Lot of Nothing, but she's good. I liked her in Infinity Pool, and I think that she has a tremendous future in Hollywood. She's really, really good. So she's been in 3 movies this year. That's good. Staying busy. She plays Miss Devine, a substitute teacher of Peter, played by Woody Norman, who is a little boy that is living in an old creepy house with his parents, and stuff has happened in their neighborhood that kind of makes them a little bit protective of him. And he hears knocking and voices coming from inside his walls, and he wants to solve this mystery before something might be history. Cobweb Tales, woohoo! But the question is, as he investigates this, are they all in his head? Is he happy? Is he feeling bad? Has he got sunshine in a bag? Is he useless? Not for long. The knocking and the voices will continue on. And he investigates this stuff, and according to the description on IMDb, he discovers a dark secret about his parents. So immediately I wrote down, I bet either they're not his real parents or there is somebody from the past living inside the walls. Or it could be, a monster pretending to be somebody. It could be a ghost. And it could just be Peter imagining all this stuff because Peter is a vicious killer. It could be a variety of things. Except it really fucking couldn't. Because if you've ever seen a horror movie or seen a movie or been out of a coma for more than 5 minutes, you can predict exactly where this movie is going to go. Reviews have said that this movie is atmospheric. Now, there are a couple decent shots. It's well made, and apparently cost a reported $20 to $30 million. I would sure fucking love to know where that money went, because besides the actors and a couple decent shots, everything is so fucking dark you can't see what the fuck is going on. Also, it's another one of those that suffers from being trimmed down to fit into a wider, rating so more people will go see it. This got a limited release. I got sent the trailer by a friend of mine in Texas, and he said, "You like horror movies? I like horror movies. Check this out." I'm like, "Well, that doesn't look awful. It doesn't look great. It looks standard. Sure, I'll go watch it." And then it got released in theaters on a limited basis for like a week or two in my area, but unfortunately none of the times worked out because I was very busy with work. All right, that's fine. I'll catch it on streaming. I didn't realize it was going to come to digital so goddamn soon, so I plunked down $8 on Amazon and decided, why not watch it? And I'm glad I did, because I didn't think horror could get much worse than it has this year, even though there's been some great parts to horror. But this is one of the worst goddamn horror offerings I've seen in the last 5 or 10 years. This was fucking atrocious. I fucking hated this. This was fucking rotten. Who the fuck thought this was a good idea to take the ideas from a dozen or possibly 24, which is 2 dozen for those of you that aren't math majors, humans had to beat them together or put them in a blender, span around to a beautiful oblivion rendezvous, and here's this serving of stuff. There are ideas, there's no fleshing out. It's obvious where the film's going from the beginning, but the character motivations are all over the goddamn map. It forgets characters exist until it's convenient to bring them back. And while Woody Norman is not bad as a kid actors, it's hard to really judge them, and it's unfair to be harsh on them. He's not too bad. And Cleopatra does the best she can, and Lizzie Kaplan, who is good, has been good in other stuff. Anthony Starr, he's good, but there's another kid, Luke Busey, Not Jake Busey, thankfully. This is one of the worst movies of the year, easily. I fucking hated this. I really fucking hated this. I'm glad people got work. Do not misunderstand me, but the idea could have been, okay, this is a manifestation of all the stuff going on in this kid's head because this kid's really fucked up, or he's actually doing this stuff, or all this stuff's happening and nobody believes him. And sure, there's a germ of an idea there. This kind of reminded me a bit of the Black Phone, with the voices coming from a certain place and stuff like that. And the movie could have worked, except for the fact that I think by the time the end credits started, this thing ran 82 minutes. And that's with the opening credits. So actually, the whole runtime of this barely scrapes by at 80 minutes. And you can tell this thing was hacked to goddamn death to just, I guess, try to get into an adequate runtime. I wonder what stuff was left on the cutting room floor. If nothing was left on the cutting room floor, then this was literally just a series of ideas from other horror movies that was cobbled together and put out. With a budget that, I'm sorry, three of the Insidious movies didn't cost this much. And I hate the Insidious movies. Talk to Me cost $4.5 million. Other movies cost significantly less than this. And while I'm glad they got funding, where did the money go? Where did it go? So yeah, 1 week before Halloween, the parents are overprotective because somebody disappeared a few houses down, a boarded-up house. And that's why they won't let Peter go out and trick-or-treat. That's the only reason. Why would anybody think otherwise? Also, the kids are bullying him at school. Why? Why not? We need a reason for stuff to happen later. And, yeah, the parents automatically can know something's fucking off. You know Peter is dealing with some traumatic shit that happened, but also unaware of traumatic shit that happened. The jump scare music, the tension music, the fact that they would drop down the stuff and boom. None of it's earned. None of it's good. Everything's done to like the most mundane, in the most mundane of ways. The overall horror just feels very safe and not very good. And by the time anything gets revealed, you're checked out. Or at least the vast majority of people are. There are people that said this was tense and atmospheric, and that's fine. You guys can think that if you want. But pretty much from the first 15 minutes on, I'm like, okay, I'm not especially interested in what's happening, but I'm going to give it a shot because I plunked down money for it. And I'm so glad I stuck with it because, God, I got to see some bullshit. A lot of bullshit. This movie's horrible. This is absolutely horrible. Rent it for a few bucks on Amazon, support the people, and gather some friends around and drink. You might be able to come up with better things than they did in Cobweb. Because, again, any good ideas are basically immediately stamped out. And character motivations change from scene to scene, sometimes within the same scene. Because I don't think anybody knew what the fuck they were doing. Everybody was probably, checked out. I know I was checked out pretty goddamn quickly. Yeah, nothing good about it. Nothing good, and that's all due respect to the cast and the people involved. I hope they all get better work. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. Okay, so the voice from inside the wall. It turns out that the voice inside the wall is Peter's sister. They locked her inside the walls. Now, why would they do that? Why would they do that? Yeah, it's like the Bart Simpson Treehouse of Horror thing where Hugo, that was it. Mom, Hugo's eating his napkin. That's where I thought we were going to go with this. It kind of reminded me of The Boy, not Brahms' The Boy 2. When you can make The Boy seem good, that's not very good. But, so, there was one point where Miss Divine was, Cleopatra coming at you. Sorry, I already said that. Helped save a spider. A spider in a movie called Cobweb. It seems so weird. And on the nose. Like they had their nose and a pile of cocaine coming up with this. Actually, I don't know. If they were on cocaine, they might have come up with something faster paced. But we get the title 7 minutes in to an 80-minute movie. The kids are instant bullies. Instant bullies, including one named Brian. So, Peter keeps hearing a little girl. The little girl says, don't tell him, don't tell what's going on. The dad is, I bet the dad's involved, because the dad tells a story about a little girl that disappeared a few houses down while trick-or-treating. Yeah, there's more to it than that. And it's like, well, be careful. Not everything is as it seems. Ha 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 ha. Gee, why don't you telegraph it more by putting a goddamn telegraph on the goddamn screen? And he has drawings saying, help me. The help me is coming from inside the walls, like the internet service providers are in your walls. If you get that reference, I love you guys. The mother is just insane. Mother character's insane. The mother is upset. Oh, you're asking for help. No, I'm not. She is. Who is? The person inside the walls. There's nobody inside the walls. More kids are being bullies. And then the voice inside the wall says, Peter, stand up for yourself. You're really, really good, Peter. You're really good. Sorry, dropped my notes. Let's get back to this. So, he stands up for himself. And Brian's mother has him bring a pumpkin in that's crudely drawn, and he apologizes. But then he keeps hearing the voice, Peter does, and pushes Brian down some stairs. Now, I'm not saying that bullies don't deserve their comeuppance, and he was a dick, but the situation was diffused. I mean, maybe it was diffused through the magic of editing, who fucking knows, but yeah. Now Peter's grounded to the basement. We're doing this because we love you. Why does it seem like they have stuff set in the basement, like something else happened? Why are these sounds coming from the basement? What's going on? Miss Devine shows up because she's going to give his last math test and also wrote her number on it in case he needed help because she suspects shit about the goddamn parents. And the principal says, don't get too personally invested, Miss Devine. She goes to investigate. The acting is shit. Not that the actors are shit, but nobody has any proper motivation to act like anything other than a series of cliches. Yeah, the sisters living inside the walls. There are pumpkin muffins brought in for their pumpkin, and now he's back up out of the basement. Then there's a hole in the wall where the men can see it all. That's a fucking deep cut. The voice keeps telling them about all this stuff. There are bodies buried in the pumpkin garden that your parents have. There's also a side story about rat poison that tastes like cinnamon. Or smells like cinnamon, rather. Factors in a little bit later. That's where he says sometimes you have to make tough decisions to protect your family. That's when the dad says that. And then the sister inside the wall says, yeah, I asked a girl for help while she was trick-or-treating and they killed the girl. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It was the sister, and I'll tell you why here soon. He calls Miss Devine, explains some stuff on the phone. The mother hears. The mother's pissed. And the dad says, you'll have to help me in the garden tomorrow. Okay. And then Brian and some cousins show up after there's help in the garden. They're going to snap into it and beat the shit. They show up and then they seemingly are forgotten about for at least 10 minutes. So, everybody's eating soup that looks like oatmeal for some reason. Well, there's something new about the soup. What is this? It smells like cinnamon. And then the father throws up crude oil. And the mother's throwing shit up. Because they're poisoned by 10W30, seemingly. And there are keys that the mother had. And the mother gets pushed down the stairs, and she's all fucked. And it says, don't let her out. Why not let her out? So there's a little door behind a clock. A little door that a little girl could get through. And suddenly, it was a ruse. It's like the Ouija movie, where the little girl was actually causing all the stuff, but needed to be freed to prove to you that she was causing the stuff. So, yeah, it was a ruse. The sister is a twisted monster, which any fucking viewer would have figured that out, by the way. Anybody would have figured that out. The movie's lost well before this. And everybody shows up. Brian, the boy with a broken leg, He's on crutches. I don't know what he would have been able to do with 2 good legs. Shrieking Carrie Von Erich noises. And then they show up, they start bashing shit around, and then they get picked off one by one by this spider sister creature thing that they locked in the walls. And the blood splatters are fine, except I believe this movie's rated PG-13. Even if it was rated R, it wouldn't matter. It feels disappointingly safe. And then, you slept in a warm bed and I was suffering among cobwebs and rats and learning how to climb and doing this because no one loves the monster. Meanwhile, Cleopatra Coleman is around. She's in the house. He says, Miss Divine, run. And she doesn't run. One guy loses his head out of that group, by the way, which is kind of... it would have been kind of a cool visual, except they couldn't fucking see it because everything was so dark. And then Peter and her are about to escape, and then the spider creature plucks him and puts him in the basement area. And then Miss Divine shows up with a fucking... That did not look like a fire poker. That did not look like a fire poker. And bashes it. Gag, gag, gag. Yeah, they're going to bash, but suddenly Peter uses the long, long hair of the sister that she has to climb out of this basement area. And they bash and bash and bash and bash and bash. Bash, 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 bash. The bashing the Cobweb show. Yeah. So the sisters put down there, you really think this is going to keep me down here? Your mother sucks cocks in hell. That's what the sisters sound like, by the way. I will always be with you. And then it ends. It literally just ends. No implication that maybe it followed them to where Cleopatra Coleman adopted him? Nothing? It just, this movie defies all, logic. I will say this much, I certainly was interested to see just how much more the movie could fuck up everything up, and it did. Yeah! I'm not saying the Barons weren't evil, I'm not saying what Yeah, it could have just been a series of things that were all in Peter's head, and it was all a nightmare. This movie should have been treated like a nightmare, and it instantly should have been forgotten about. And hopefully this movie is forgotten about until I talk about it when I do my worst movies of the year list. Because this will definitely fucking be on. It's an F. Of course it's a fucking F. God damn it. Agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rentlin. I'll see you soon.